fought the rest, now try the best!
A couple of days ago, I made this very long tweet. Very petty of me, right? Listing out everything that I think Tekken 8 did wrong. And there was one person who said, I'm still upset over Heihachi's death being undone. A big middle finger to anyone who had any investment in Tekken's plot actually moving forward. And this is something that people were upset by, is that, you know, with Heihachi finally being out of the picture, it's not that we dislike Heihachi. We love Heihachi. But Heihachi is just too much. He's too consuming. His personality's too big. When it's there, nothing else moves forward. And with him finally stepping aside, people were like happy to see that Tekken could tell a story that really focuses on the relationship between Jin, Kazuya, and maybe even Zhao Yu and other characters, right? And we were interested to see where this story goes. What does the developers have in store for us? And then the retconning of Heihachi, it just ruined all of it. We feel like we're back in Tekken 5 with in terms of story. We're back in Tekken 5, but without all of the personality, you know? Because that's the thing, if the story was done good, we would watch Heihachi, Kazuya, and Jin done forever. But the story's getting kind of like stale in their portrayals, and we want to see what's next, but Heihachi didn't deliver, right? And I think this comment here, the next one that the next one that I'm going to read, I think that one is a really good one because it shows the potential of what they could have done. Even if they wanted to bring back Heihachi, they could have did it in a way that's different, in a way that's not as intrusive. So let's read it first before we really yap, right? You're never gonna have a character stay dead in modern fighting game. People are super attached to their mains for multiple reasons, not just gameplay. So Heihachi mains were never gonna truly move on to Reina and Kuma, which is true, right? What this person is saying is true. I mean, look at how people request whatever character that has been a game for like 10 years or whatever, right? And this is why what this person says in response is so interesting. Tekken 7's entire story mode built towards killing off Heihachi and wrapping up his arc with Kazuya, right? Tekken 8 has undone that. And Heihachi wants revenge. He wants revenge against Kazuya for getting revenge against Heihachi for getting revenge against Kazuya for getting the revenge against... You know what I mean? It's like they're just getting revenge over and over and over again. Just have him be non-canon addition. And I think Geese Howard did this. He was dead at one point or he was gone at one. I don't know what happened. But I know there's an example of Geese Howard not being canonically alive or around in the story, but he is still on the roster. He is still playable. And they could have did the same thing with Heihachi. And you can even argue them doing the same thing with Kazumi, where Kazumi was dead in modern era Tekken 7. And the flashbacks that you see is before even Tekken 1. Throw a flashback in there, then boom, Heihachi's on the roster. That's what people, long story short, wanted. And then it says, or if he needs to be in a story, have him be a nightmare hallucination that haunts Kazuya or something. I thought that was crazy. When we talk about these characters being dead, gone, but still having a type of presence, this is what Heihachi could have been. And he kind of was this to a certain extent. When Jin was fighting Reina, Reina hit him so hard to where he recognized Heihachi's strength, Heihachi's fighting style, Heihachi's aura. Bro started seeing ghosts. And that's exactly what Reina tells him. Oh, what do you see, a ghost? After the match, he asked her, where'd you learn that Mishimas style? And there's only one person who has that. He didn't say the name, but Reina knew what he was saying. She was like, oh, I just seen it on the internet. Now, if you talk about Kazuya, Kazuya seen Heihachi as well when he was fighting Lars. Lars hit him with a headbutt or whatever he did. He stood up and Kazuya was shook. They could have played into that element and of the hallucinations for both of them, for both Jin and Kazuya. They could have played, especially with them taking the Devil Jin from each other. That also could have had some, weird effect on their psyche where the Devil Jin's gone, but they're not free. Now they feel like something's gone, and also they feel like this impending doom of like Heihachi's return or something. I believe schizophrenic is what it is. Maybe that's not the correct thing, right? But they could have did something like that. Of course, don't make them crazy, but just play into the elements of these guys have been. Think about it. Jin has been fighting since he was a child as well as Kazuya. There has to be some kind of trauma there. and that trauma should be shown. It could have been expressed through Heihachi. Heihachi is gone, yet he is such a presence to where both of these characters are still, impacted by him. They fear him, they dread him when he's gone. And then if you let that play out for like a game or two, right? Heihachi's canonically dead, but the presence is alive. They fear him. You put him on a roster that way. And then once he actually does come back, it's like a Tony Stark, having, dreading Thanos, and then eventually Thanos shows up, right?
Tell me his name again.
Thanos. He's a plague, Tony. He invades planets, he takes what he wants, he wipes out half the population.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you.
Well, it's like that. The payoff of Heihachi's return was not earned. It was not satisfactory. It was nothing. It was hollow. It was cheap. It was bad. It was they had to let that, Heihachi's actually alive sit for a little bit so you could really see the fallout of it. Heihachi wasn't even dead long enough for us to see the characters react. And this is how I feel about a lot of the things that Tekken do, is like a lot of these characters can't even react to like the death of Heihachi, the Jin Kazama causing World War III. We cut from characters hating Jin to, in the next game, they're like, come on, Jin, save us. And in the next game, they're like, yeah, Jin, you're a hero. Like, we didn't really even get to like relish in that moment. And there's many moments like that Tekken kind of glosses over, and they throw away these plot lines too quickly, And maybe that's what happens, when you're trying to tell a story and you feel like you just got to get on to the next chapter. But, if they really want to make a good story, a story that's legendary, a story that's people, talk fondly of multiple years later, that's not what you do. You got to let it play out. Even if you do need to say like, okay, we need to hold off on this plot point for 2 games so we could really like let this sink in. Like sometimes you got to do it. I think that Heihachi's revival is like a bigger issue with the story overall, because it's just, once again, they're not allowing these great moments. A great moment, Kazuya finally triumphs and defeats Heihachi. That was big. And then now Heihachi's going to be back, and then Kazuya's going to be like, so you're back. And then they're going to start throwing electrics. It's like, where's the payoff? And then talk about undermining Reina, right? Reina was such a cool character, and people really accepted her. People really accepted Reina as a new Mishima, as a powerful character. She has the devil gene. People were interested to see how can she compete with the Jin and Kazuya. And with Jin and Kazuya losing their devil gene, people were like, oh, and now she has it? Okay, where's this going? We often seen Kazuya be the most powerful character in the room forever, right? He's the strongest. Besides Jin, we've always seen these two guys be the most confident, strongest people. But to finally have these guys be in a position to where not only they're not the strongest, but Heihachi's daughter being the strongest, and her wanting revenge, that would have been crazy. Players were playing around with the idea of, what if Jin and Kazuya have to team up to take her down? They don't have the devil gene anymore. What if their only way is to put their battle aside? Tekken 8, we see these two guys go to war. In Tekken 9, at the end of Tekken 8, Reina unlocks her devil gene. Tekken 9, she now is going to pose a threat so large to where they have to team up. For once, the Tekken players were starting to theorize and try to figure out what they're going to do next. And with Heihachi coming back, all of that energy's gone. No one's theorizing on nothing. And that's the biggest tragedy, is that they lost it. The players were finally wondering what comes next. Him staying dead and impacting their psychologies, their minds, could have been his biggest role. That would have been amazing. You would have been able to explore these characters in ways that no one has ever thought of. You would have been able to show a new side to Kazuya. And then that's when Jun Kazama shows up to help with the mental trauma. There was something there to be explored, and